Good evening, my name is Kacper Paradowski and you are watching Poland Daily News. 610 years after the Battle of Grunwald, this event still serves as one of the most integral parts of the Polish national identity. It was this event which gave rise to nearly 300 golden years for the shared state of Poles, Lithuanians and Ruthenians. The victory of the Polish-Lithuanian army over the Teutonic Order serves as a reminder for the Baltic states that much can be achieved when they cooperate. Today's celebrations were attended by the President of Poland, Andrzej Duda, and his Lithuanian counterpart, Gitanas Nausėda, as well as the Prime Ministers of both countries, Mateusz Morawiecki and Saulius Skvernelis. The Grand Master of the Teutonic Order, priest Bruno Poltra, was also present.
Ogromnie cieszę się z tego, że
I'm very happy to have Mr. President and Mr. Prime Minister here with us, since it is a symbolic presence. On the 610th anniversary of the battle, where we fought side by side, let it be a sign of co-creating the North Atlantic Alliance, without the swords, but with friendship.
już bez mieczy.
We are usually talking about learning a lesson when it comes to defeats, but what can we take away from this great victory from today's context? Building cultural and national identity has always been and still is our everyday fight. I ask Mr. President of the Lithuanian Republic, Gitanas Nausėda, to unveil the monument.
Z tym większą radością pragnę podkreślić dzisiejszą wspólnotę interesów Republiki Litewskiej i Rzeczypospolitej Polskiej.
I want to stress how aligned our interests are in the EU and our full cooperation in the North Atlantic Alliance. But we are also creating new, modern areas of cooperation in the Three Seas Initiative, Via Carpathia, or the construction of gas connectors which will help Lithuania be more independent from the previous system of energy supply. There can be no doubt that Grunwald, which symbolizes our unity, remains an important symbol to this day. We are living in a time of complex geopolitical challenges. We are still facing external threats, only their range is larger. Next to military threats, we are facing new issues like information war, breaches of cybersecurity, and recently the coronavirus pandemic. Nonetheless, I believe that we will defeat them all together. The politicians of the Civic Platform party seem to attempt to cause an escalation of social emotions. On the one hand, leading politicians of the group declare that they respect the result of the presidential election in which Andrzej Duda won. On the other hand, they make it clear that the elections were unfair and call for protests before the Supreme Court. The institution has until August 3rd to express their opinion on the validity of the election. Does Rafał Trzaskowski's staff assume that the elections may be repeated? Are you preparing for such a possibility? All I can say is that every party and every electoral staff must always be prepared for any possibility. However, everything is now in the hands of the Supreme Court. We do not want to go one step too far. We want the Supreme Court to consider all the election processes, which we know there are a lot of. Since yesterday, we have received more than 2,000 notices of election inconsistencies, and those are still being sent. The scale is very large, and there is to be a mass trial in Ireland and several other countries in the world where people have, essentially, been deprived of their right to vote. What our foreign minister did, or rather failed to do, is a scandal. What do Prince Harry, Bernie Sanders and Andrzej Duda have in common? They all were pranked by two Russian YouTubers, Vladimir Kuznetsov and Alexei Stolyarov, also known as Vovan and Lexus. In the case of the President of Poland, they pretended to be the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres. Polish diplomats and the secret services are currently investigating how the phone number they used was trusted.
President Tusk gave me some present from your country called Zubrovka. This is a very strong drink. You know why I recall him? Because I have spoke to him yesterday, and he expressed his fear that you will discriminate rights of the LGBT community. I hope that's not true.
This is Excellency. I don't discriminate them, really. I have a huge respect for every human being.
I don't know why he was so concerned about that.
There was a strong discussion during our campaign, presidential campaign, about LGBT movement and about adoption and about same-sex marriages.
I don't know why he concerned so much. Probably he is also one of them.
He doesn't like me.
In connection with the phone call to the President of Poland, Andrzej Duda, the recording of which was made public on the internet, I inform the secret services are investigating the circumstances of the event which resulted in the impersonation of the UN Secretary-General and the recording of a phone call to the President of Poland. The findings so far show that the conversation between the Russian man and the President of Poland was preceded by contact with an employee of the Permanent Representation of Poland to the UN. An employee of the representation positively verified the request for the interview, which was then referred to the President's office. The circumstances of the decision of the office representative employee are being investigated by relevant services. The President of the Supreme Audit Office, Marian Banaś, wants to dismiss Tadeusz Dziuba, one of the vice presidents of this institution. Banaś submitted a notification to the prosecutor's office accusing Dziuba of, among others, putting pressure on auditors. Asked today by journalists about this case, Speaker of the Sejm, Elżbieta Witek, confirmed that she had received a letter from the Vice President of the Supreme Audit Office in which he denied the allegations made by Banaś. Yesterday, the President of the Supreme Audit Office, Marian Banaś, removed Tadeusz Dziuba, the Vice President of this institution, from supervising the audits, after previously submitting a notification to the Prosecutor's Office about the possibility of committing a crime. In order to guarantee the independence of the Supreme Audit Office auditors, President of the institution, Marian Banaś, has decided to remove the Vice President, Tadeusz Dziuba, from supervising the audits. This is the aftermath of the article published by the onet.pl portal a week ago, in which the authors revealed that Tadeusz Dziuba had made an attempt to influence the auditors involved in the activities of Beata Kempa as the Minister for Humanitarian Aid between the end of 2017 and spring of 2019. According to the article, Vice President Dziuba was against the behavior of the Supreme Audit Office auditors, who critically assessed the creation of the position of Minister for Humanitarian Aid in the government for Beata Kempa and accused her of not implementing some of the tasks. Journalists also disclosed a letter from Dr. Bogdan Svarka, Director of the Public Administration Department of the Supreme Audit Office, to its Vice President, Tadeusz Dziuba, in which he accuses Dziuba of attempting to manipulate the results of the audits. Mr. President wants to have an impact on the author's information about the results of the audits, including assessments and requests, in order to manipulate them. He pressured the author of this information during a meeting held on June 8th, which I was not invited to. calling the employees of KAP, the Department of Public Administration of the Supreme Audit Office, without the director's participation, as well as the content of your statement given to me by the auditor who participated in the meeting, and the conditions under which the conversation took place, of the Vice President Małgorzata Motyłow as witness, testify of an attempt to intimidate auditors and put pressure on them to bypass the procedures, and manipulate the results of the audits and respond to your need to mitigate the results of the audits in favor of one of the bodies audited, the Chancellery of the Prime Minister of Poland. Today, Sejm Speaker Elżbieta Witek informed that the request to dismiss Tadeusz Dziuba from the function of the Vice President of the Supreme Audit Office will be directed to the committee. I received the request of President Banaś on Friday. This is a request to dismiss Vice President Tadeusz Dziuba. It will be directed to the committee. I cannot resolve this matter right now because this is just a letter written by President Banaś. We will most likely have to set up a meeting. I don't exclude this possibility of a meeting nor confirm it. I have to think about all this, but the case will be directed to the committee in accordance with the procedure. Tadeusz Dziuba was appointed Vice President of the Chamber of Control of the Supreme Audit Office in November last year. During a session of the Parliamentary Committee assessing the candidacy of Dziuba, President Banaś said that this was his own initiative. The appointment of Tadeusz Dziuba to the Supreme Audit Office took place 2 months after the disclosing of information that Marian Banaś was to lower his income for renting a tenement house in Krakow. He denied all allegations and filed lawsuits for violating his good name. Marian Banaś has been the President of the Supreme Audit Office for 6 years now. The President of the Supreme Audit Office is appointed by the Sejm with the consent of the Senate. The British government has banned Huawei from Britain's 5G network starting next year. The equipment and software is to be scrapped before 2027. The Secretary of State for Culture, Oliver Dowden, explained that the National Cyber Security Centre had made significant changes to the security assessment of Huawei's presence in the UK's 5G network. The move is a major U-turn for the government, who only a few months ago vowed to continue cooperation with Huawei. This move mirrors the US sanctions on the company. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo announced visa restrictions on employees of the Chinese tech giant. This move was to punish complicity in human rights abuses. Pompeo said that Huawei is an arm of the Chinese Communist Party's surveillance state that censors political dissidents and enables mass internment camps in Xinjiang and the indentured servitude of its population shipped all over China. That is all for tonight. Thank you for watching. Stay with us for Poland Daily Business. Good night.